Back to the Scale Modelling Twins. We're at Fighter World Museum at Williamtown again. I'm going to show you something which I think is very, very cool indeed. This is a Sopwith Camel. This isn't a real one, this is a replica, but it's absolutely wonderful in the way they've done it. You wouldn't believe that's not a real engine. So the tub of that is made from a washing machine tub, which is pretty bloody cool. So that's a replica Clerget engine. These had a choice of 4 engines, a Larone, a Clerget, a Gnome and a Bentley, which is once the same, but it's made under license. So let's look around some of the salient points of these things. Now, the thing about the Camel is all the weight is in the front, say 2 meters of it. You've got the weight of the propeller, the engine, the guns, the pilot, the fuel tank, and there's absolutely nothing behind there. So all the weight is in one central bit, and you've got the rotary engine. So what makes this different from a radial engine is a radial engine, as the propeller turns, the pistons stay still. That is the cylinders. The pistons move within the cylinders, but they stay where they are. As this engine turns, the whole engine turns. So that sets up what's called precession. So it's like a gyroscopic effect, and it's a negative effect. So once that's spinning, it's like when you grab a bicycle wheel by its axle and you spin it. It'll want to, well, turn in the direction that it's spinning, but also wants to turn 90 degrees to that. So this is all turning one way. If you you know, as the engine's spinning, it'll make the aircraft want to go into a spin. So if you turn one way in this, if you're not careful, the aircraft will go into an uncontrollable spin. So only the best pilots and the ones most experienced would be able to turn right in these. From what I understand, if they want to go right, a lot of times they turn left and do a loop around that way and go underneath. All right, so let's look at some details here. You've got that pipe sticking out the side. In fact, it sticks out both sides of the cockpit there. Believe it or not, that's a carburetor inlet for the engine. So it's just, you know, just above the pilot's knees, and the air tube for that goes down and forward into the rear of the engine there. So instrument panel. On top you see the 2 guns and the cocking handles for the guns. They're Vickers 303s. What else we got? The control yoke in the centre. This is one of the aircraft that, before autopilot and everything else, that you could never take your hands off that stick. The aircraft will just go into an uncontrollable spin if you ever let go of that, because it was an unstable aircraft in the air. The rudder pedals are down the bottom there. It's a bit of a glare, but you can see them. The wooden pedals, a rudder bar connected directly to the cables, which go under the seat and all the way back to the rudder, the rear there. What else we've got? Got some simple instruments. So it's just a compass, a clock. There's a altimeter, airspeed indicator, and a couple of magneto switches. And that's pretty much all you've got. You've got the throttles over on the left-hand side of the pilot there. One's for throttle, one's the mixture for the carburetor. You've got a handle, it's a bit too glary, a red handle down on the right-hand side there. That's a cable drive that goes down to a bomb rack fitted to this one. These are 20-pound bombs, and I'll best show them from the front in a minute. You've got 2 fuel tanks here, 2 caps. You've got the main fuel tank there, the big oval thing that sits behind the pilot, and you've got one above that fuel tank there. So 2 fuel tanks there. Got a couple of sluices on the nose of the nacelle. So the lower one in the centre of the airframe is the chute for the spent casings from the gun, and you've got one on the upper side above it, up the top. That's the sluice for getting rid of the ammunition belt coming off the 2 guns. Around the side, let's go through here. In this particular aircraft, this is Harry Cobby's aircraft, Air Commodore, one of the founding members of the, well, it was the Royal Australian Flying Corps, soon to be RAAF. So Charlie Chaplin, his, one of his heroes, and the sign there is dangerous to lean out of the window. He flogged that from a London train, or certainly an English train. He put that there. It was a bit of a joke. We mentioned bomb rack a minute ago. So these are held in position by a cable, and you've got the arming propeller at the front there for the fuse. And they're stopped from spinning from that little thing there. So if you pull the cable, as a bomb drops, it'll enable the propellers to start spinning and arm as soon as you drop away from the airframe. The undercarriage here, they had a problem that all the lubrication, which is castor oil from these engines, sitting there, and when it's running, they didn't have particularly good seals back in the day. There was cork and all that stuff before, say, the silicon seals and everything else that they have now. The trouble with that is all the oil would leak out of here, run down the leg of the undercarriage, and really lubricate that wheel nut. And those wheel nuts, the left-hand wheels had a habit of falling off. So if you're missing one wheel, and you can't see it and you don't know about it because you're sitting above the wing, if you land, you're going to be tipping over straight away, and you're not going to know what happened. So a lot of these aircraft crashed on landing. It wasn't until near the end of the war where they actually remachined those and put the opposite thread on them so it would tighten instead of falling off and coming loose. So the right wheel wasn't really a problem because of the way that the engine was turning, it was spraying the oil one direction and lubricating the hell out of that wheel. This is a genuine flying vest from, this is Oliver White. His granddaughter donated that, the seat and the flying helmet to the museum here, and we're very grateful for that. Looking around, if I go this way, on the wing you've got inspection ports looking at the cable drive for the ailerons. Cable is through the wing here, and then you've got another strut that joins the top and the bottom ailerons of the wings. I would argue that this is probably the wrong colour olive, but I'd say when they made the replica they did their research and they're happy with that, but I personally think it's a little bit too yellow. But I'm not an expert on these things. Colours, this is before FS numbers and British Standard and everything else, so they called the paints mainly PC10, PC11, PC12. I don't really know what they are, but I think Wingnut Wings would be the best source of reference for those, because Richard Alexander and his guys really do their research well. When they made this replica, they left a plastic skin on this lower wing here so you can see all the structure and everything else. It'll all be hidden, but these are skills that nobody in Air Force has anymore. These more in line with carpenter skills than anything else. It's all plywood. One other thing, you've got an air-driven pump here. This is to pressurise the air in the fuel tank. So effectively pressurising fuel tank lets the engine work at a higher altitude and everything else. From what I'm told, the pilots preferred it up here where they can see that it's actually working. The Edward models of this, they got these pumps fitted to the undercarriage struts, and I don't know where they particularly were or whatever, but yeah, I think you'd know if this wasn't working. The pilot would soon know that it wasn't working because the engine performance would sort of die off a little bit. And that's about it. Obviously they call these aircraft a Camel because of the hump where the guns are fitted. And there were three types of Camels. This is an F.1, meaning fighter, the standard sort of day fighter. They had a Comic, which is a night fighter version. So what they found is the guns on these ones, when they're shooting, the glow of the rounds and the flames sticking out the front of the barrel and everything else would blind the pilots at night. So what they did is remove those guns there, put a gun on the upper wing on what they called a Foster mount. So they changed the Vickers guns to a Lewis gun. up on top of the wing there, and had the fuel tank sitting forward of the pilot, and well, just forward of the instrument panel, and they'd move all this stuff back. So in a comic model, the cockpit itself is further back on that wooden thing. So you've got the fuel tank in front of the pilot, the seat further back. That enables him to reach the gun up the top there, and he wouldn't be blinded at night. There's a lot of redesign. And the third one was basically, I can't remember the designation, but it's the naval version of this is for landing on, well, the first type of aircraft carriers. And I don't know what changes they made to those Camels. I really don't know. It's probably to do with bracing mechanisms and everything else. That's about it. So that's a look at our replica Camel at Fighter World here. I think it's one of the best exhibits we have. I think it's absolutely stunning representation of a camel. And as I was saying earlier, this is the guy whose aircraft it was. This is Air Commodore Arthur Henry or Harry Cobby, and he was born in Paran in Melbourne in 1894. And yeah, cracker of an aircraft. From what I'm told, or what they were saying back, the pilots that flew these was saying you would either get one of three things from it. So either you get a Victoria Cross or an Iron Cross, meaning you shoot one out of the sky, or a wooden cross, and that the plane will kill you. Very unstable, and these are responsible for shooting down more than any other type of aircraft in World War I, but they were inherently unstable and very difficult to fly. And still a beautiful looking aircraft. And I must say, I've built a couple of the Edward 48 scale kits of these, and they are amongst the best model kits I've ever built. They're just sublime, absolutely sublime. So that's it. Welcome to Fighter World. Oh look, let me show you around. So we have a FA-18 Hornet there. I'll do some more videos later on. We've got a Mirage 3.0. We've got a Windshield. We've got an F-111 over there. We've got a Joseph walking under the pedo probe. And we've got a store with some model kits, toys for the kiddies. We've got another hangar next door, but I'll show you that next time. Oh, and we've got a simulator of an F-111, an FA-18 Hornet simulator here, which is absolutely incredible to fly. And that's it for now. I'll show you more later on, but hope you enjoyed this. Talk again soon.